All right, everyone, and welcome back to On Deck, a podcast by Prospects Live. In episode 10, Rhys, we've made it to our first milestone, I would say. But how are you doing on this Thursday morning?
I'm doing great. I mean, we made it to double digits. I think this is the furthest that any of the podcasts that I've worked on at Prospects Live has made it, mostly because Nate keeps dragging us along. But no, it's been fantastic. I'm very happy with how it's going. Um, at some point we're gonna have to probably do a Prospects hit up a mailbag and everything like that. That would be a great thing to add on to our. We have a document of future segments. A mailbag might be perfect. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad this made it to 10 episodes. Talking with you and Drew has been one of my favorite things that's happened, this year. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think a Q&A mailbag is great. And just so people know, they can always comment on our Twitters or YouTube comments, right? You can always leave a question if you have one, and we'll
I'd
answer
answer it.
because well, we'll
Um,
probably we don't have anyone commenting, so I don't think people know that they could ask us questions. So that's open for you guys if you'd like. But we have a good episode for you here today, kind of just talking ball, right? We're gonna go over our Omaha preview. We're not gonna make any predictions this time around, but we're gonna go through all the teams and kind of talk about what we're looking to see from them in Omaha and who might be able to win it all. Realistically, all of them could win the whole dance. And then we're just gonna go into a bunch of prospect news. Roman Anthony also obviously got called up, and we didn't talk about him on our last episode because we were talking college. So we'll get into all the kind of minor league call-ups and minor league standouts. We had a couple injuries in the major leagues that we want to talk about as well. We'll go through what's going on at Prospects Live and then what's on your mind after that. So it'll be kind of a tight, concise episode with a bunch of analysis. So without further ado, let's get right into that.
I don't wanna try that hard. I ain't gonna show that card. People start to wonder if you live here now. And the boys in the corner are trying.
And welcome back from that lovely song from the Drop Teens, and we are here to preview Omaha Rhys. I think I'm more of a regionals guy when it comes to the best week of college baseball, but Omaha's definitely up there. Are you a College World Series guy yourself?
I'm a College World Series guy. I'm definitely not a super regional guy. I'm done with super regionals after last week's episode where we discovered that I did not get a single prediction correct. So I've been avoiding talking about predictions for Omaha. We might have to do that at some point, but who knows? But yeah, I'm a big College World Series fan. I've never been to Omaha. I would say it's lovely this time of year, but I can't imagine Omaha is very nice this time of year. It's hot, humid, probably can't be that great. But yeah, shout out to Omaha and shout out to the bar that's famous for the Jello shots.
Yeah, the LSU just goes in and laps the field over there. I saw someone bought the first 100 Jello shots from Murray State so they could take the lead before it started, and I thought
There we go.
that was funny. Go Racers! So yeah, looking at our first kind of initial matchups in Omaha, before we even get into what the matchups are, the fact that they don't reseed for the College World Series is a pretty hot debate in the streets right now, Rhys. I mean, we have LSU and Arkansas playing each other in the first round. Do you think reseeding should make its way to the College World Series?
I'm indifferent on the reseeding. In general, I do tend to like it when a tournament reseeds and everything like that. But I don't think it changed anything. I think getting the fact that we get LSU and Arkansas just as their first game in this whole thing is super exciting and is must-watch TV. I'll see how I get a chance to watch it because I'll be camping during the weekend. But yeah, I'm super excited for that. And I just think that reseeding would make it cooler. But I don't have any strong lean one way or the other.
Suppose when you really think about it, even Murray State is technically the worst team in the field. They could absolutely win a couple of games here, right? Louisville could beat Oregon State in their first round matchup. So I suppose reseeding doesn't really matter because you have to win them all anyways. Tougher path or easier path, it doesn't really matter. You want to, win every game you play. So going over our first round matchups, Arizona versus Coastal Carolina, Louisville versus Oregon State, Murray State versus UCLA, LSU versus Arkansas. Let's remove LSU and Arkansas from the picture because I think that's the most high-powered matchup we have. What's your favorite initial matchup between those last three?
Is it crazy to say Arizona versus Coastal? I mean, like Arizona's offense is so much fun. They get good pitching, and Coastal's offense is also really, really fun. And their pitching is probably the best in the tournament, honestly. Like I think it's either them or LSU's pitching staff at this point. You can kind of flip a coin, which is crazy to say for a mid-major that's not spending, quite a bit of money in NIL by any means. So I think that Arizona Coastal matchup is one that I'm very excited about. I don't know how I'm going to watch it, but I'm gonna find a way. I'm going to move heaven and earth to watch it.
I I'm a coastal rider at this point, right? Coastal and Murray State. I've kind of put my stake in the ground on those two, and a little bit of Oregon State too. So
And
I guess I
I've
just have three teams.
And I've been actively rooting against UCLA with every fiber of my being, so it's going to continue. It's going to continue.
Yeah, yeah. Adam called me out and made me put a Twitter profile picture bet on the line if UCLA was to win it all, and I said, "There's no way in hell UCLA's winning it all," but I will. So I'll do that bet. Yeah. So do you just want to have the UCLA conversation right now? I think that they had one of the easiest regionals and one of the most lackluster supers against the UTSA. I don't think they've been tested, and I think that Murray State is the best team that they have played yet, easily in my opinion, based on like the hottest team. And I don't see them beating like any of these kind of powerhouses that are left in Omaha.
No, do they have the pitching? No. Can Rock Chalowski carry an offense? Sure, he could in theory, but I think that Murray State, like we've talked about this entire postseason, they're one of the deepest teams in all of college baseball. They don't have going into the tournament, nobody knew any of these names, but they've been fantastic, situational hitting and everything. But UCLA isn't coming in like, they haven't been tested. It's been they kind of been handed a cakewalk of schedule up until this point in the postseason. And I just wonder if their run sort of ends pretty quickly into Omaha. They might be, I think they're my least favorite. Oh, actually, they're not. They might not be. They are my least favorite team in Omaha. Like I've been actively rooting against them every step of the way, and my hating's not gonna stop. Like it's nothing against the UCLA players. I just don't think the team's that good, and I don't know how they've gotten here.
They've been putting up runs like nobody's business, but I think that's more of a product of the teams that they've been facing and the pitching staffs that they've been lucky enough to go against. And Murray State as pitching staff is similar to a lot of the teams that they played. So UCLA will put up runs in this first game, but for the first time they're playing another team that could put up double digits in a heartbeat on them. UCLA doesn't have like any draft guys I like this year. It's really Rock Chalowski, and that's about it. They just got a pitcher back, Delvecchio, I think it is, from academic ineligibility because UCLA just finished their finals. So I think he's now technically eligible again because like that quarter semester or whatnot is over. So they got a pitcher back who's not bad, but that doesn't mean a whole lot to me in this situation because he hasn't pitched in months. I'm not a UCLA guy either. We are both kind of rooting against them at this point. Now tell me a team you're rooting for in this tournament.
The thing is that I am rooting for Coastal and I'm rooting for Arizona, but they play each other. I'm actually just rooting for anybody but UCLA at this point. Like I don't think there's a team that I'm rooting against. I didn't believe in Oregon State. Little did I know I was going to be wrong. Louisville played in the most boring of all the super regionals, but I mean, they have a good offense. The pitching staff comes through. I mean, they've got, just an experience. A bunch of seniors come through. They know what to expect. Their fan base is excited to be back in Omaha. So that too. It's a program that's like ever since like I started paying attention to college baseball since I was in high school. I was like, oh, Louisville's like fantastic. And then the 5-year drought they've had from Omaha has been a little weird for them. But yeah, I think Arizona, I'm rooting for LSU. I have personal reasons for it. Daniel Dickinson. I know Anthony Ianson. Arizona's been fantastic. Arkansas, Murray State has been the most fun sleeper, of all these teams. Do I think that Murray State could win the College World Series? I don't think so. But I mean, they have a chance to go pretty far.
Weird things have happened in Omaha before, but yeah, Murray State is definitely a stretch. But I mean, the offense combined with really, I would say the relief pitching, but it's only been Graham Kellum, and he's someone I just want to highlight here. He closed every single game that they had a lead in both the supers and the regionals. And I think he's given up like a run or two on some solo shots that ended up mattering. He hasn't lost a game for Murray State yet. This was a guy who entered playoff baseball with like a 4 ERA. he's like the closer of Murray State on, a decent team heading into the whole playoffs or whatnot. He just took it to a new level. And he's like 92 with this fastball with like a slider he doesn't locate very well and like this huge curveball. And he consistently just wins games for Murray State. If they have a lead entering like the 7th inning, at this point, it's like a dang near sure thing that they're going to win the game because Kellum doesn't give up, runs. And just like how Coastal and Arizona, like the relief pitching matchup there, incredible. Like we talked to Ryan Lynch, he has maintained his ERA of 0.5 or whatnot. There's some really good bullpens in Omaha. I am sneakily rooting for either a mid-major or Pac-12 team to win this whole thing, and UCLA does not count towards that. I would love if my old Pac-12 go Cougs, Arizona or Oregon State had a little run here. I think Oregon State's a really fun story because they've kind of just been counted out ever since the regional round. Independent team, it's not the sexiest pick, but Corvallis really showed up in their super. And Coastal, man, I agree with you 100%. The pitching staff is really good. I think Bodine's like a true star in the sport right now. He's he's probably my favorite hitter to watch in Omaha, other than maybe Rock Chlowski. And yeah, I think like LSU or Arkansas winning makes the most sense maybe here, but is that sexy? I don't know.
Do you think Bodine has been the player who's probably made himself the most money this postseason? I think that he might thrust himself in the top 10 conversations, which has been not something I've expected going into this.
I truly think that he is the best true catcher. I prefer him to Stevenson at this point. I think he's in the teens. I do. And a lot of outlets are like, late first round, comp round, whatnot.
Catchers rise.
I think in the next update for a lot of these, especially if he keeps hitting if he hits another home run or two in Omaha, he will surely be like an earlier first round pick, first half maybe. Top 10 is scary because like Ike Irish does have the bat, but he's not a catcher, right? So like, do you really want to take this like positionless guy, or do you want to take the guy in Bodine who probably has a 60 hit tool and plays a damn near Gold Glove level defense? It's probably a 60 hit, 50, 55 fielding. That is a sustainable catching prospect in my end with power upside. He's shown it before. Like last year he hit for power. He just didn't hit for it this year. He's one of my favorite prospects in all of baseball, or in all of college baseball right now. And I'm really looking forward to see what happens in the draft and what team decides to, take him, because I do think he's one of those guys who will go earlier than a lot of people expect.
And do we want to talk about Murray State basically beating Duke so bad that their entire coaching staff went up to Virginia? Like that was they were just like left in the middle of the night. Shout out to Brian Sikowski. Kudos to him for getting, he was on that Duke coaching staff. Now he's up at Virginia. I think Virginia is going to be the most, we talked about as a team that wasn't going to make the postseason or anything like that, or that didn't make the postseason that will make it and bounce back. I think Virginia is just getting one of the best coaches, one of the best recruiters, just one of the best in general. Like you can get different guys to Virginia than you can to Duke. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Murray State for beating Duke so bad that their coaches went to Virginia, but also shout out to Virginia. I think they're a program on the rise, despite I believe Jack Bauer just decommitting, which might just be a leverage play at this point. I don't think he's going to step on foot on campus. If you're a lefty who throws 100 miles an hour, I'm just going to assume you're not showing up on campus.
Great college baseball name though. You never know.
Yes.
That NIL money for that name definitely plays a factor.
Right.
I do think it's really. I think it's really interesting. They had to empty their pockets, but Virginia will do that. I think that's a great shout as far as like teams you expect to be better next year. They're definitely going to put in work in the portal. We've really gone over all the teams here at this point. Do we want to give a loose prediction on maybe who we'd like to see match up
in the finals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go first. I would love to see Coastal. Honestly, I would love to see Coastal, and I'd love to see them play one of the big dogs. I'd like to see them win Arkansas or LSU. So I'm going to say Coastal, Arkansas is my prediction. Now, who wins that? That's a different question entirely, but that's what I would imagine.
I was going to say Coastal, LSU. Pardon me. What if I just stay with my Beavs? Apparently, I picked them in our preseason. We do like predictions at Prospects Live within our staff group chat. And before the college baseball season even started, I picked Oregon State. I don't know 100% why I did that. I think I just went out on a limb. But what if I stick with my Beavers and I'll go up against LSU? Anyone but UCLA coming out of that half is good with me. Coastal, Oregon State, Arizona, Louisville. I think any of those teams is a fun story to make it to the championship. And then, the winner of the LSU Arkansas first round game, I think, drives the car to the World Series final.
Yeah, that's going to be the most important game this weekend. I think that that's going to be one where, like, if whoever wins that one is, like you said, just in the driver's seat. Sorry, my eye's spasming right now. I don't know what the heck's going on.
We're all over the place. I know. I got a throat thing.
Dude, like, I get this eye spasm in my right eye, and it's awful. We should keep this in. Maybe this is the cold open. My medical problem that I don't know what's going on. But yeah, shout out to whoever wins that game. I think that they just put themselves in such a good spot in this tournament.
I think so too. And we're rooting for Murray State on, I believe, Saturday.
So us and John Morant.
That's the only two people. I think it's going to be a really fun first couple of days, and we'll come back with kind of an update, obviously, because Omaha's a week-long event. So we'll come back on Monday with Drew and talk a little bit more about what we're seeing and kind of updated predictions for the rest of the week. So that'll be our Omaha preview right there, nice and concise for us, Rhys. All right, and welcome back from that break, and we are here to talk about all things prospect news, Rhys. And there is one topic that trumps all as of right now. That is Roman Anthony finally getting the call to the Red Sox. So before we go into any analysis, I first want to kind of pick your brain here. Why did it take so long for Roman to get called up? And did he simply just get called up out of need of Willie Abreu getting injured?
I think a lot of it is Willie Abreu getting hurt. I think that's ultimately what's the reason that he's called up, because they have a loaded outfield. I mean, there's been rumblings that they want to trade Jarren Duran. I don't know what they're going to trade him for. Ceddanne Rafaela is someone I believe you and I are like two of the people who love him the most. Like, just an animal defensive center fielder who, if he can hit, man, that we're cooking with gas. And Willie Abreu has kind of been like the Red Sox best player. Like, he's gone under the radar, and him going on the IL kind of opened up the opportunity for Anthony to come up. I don't know if it's going to be for long. Maybe they rework some things. Maybe they make a trade. Maybe maybe someone else gets hurt. I just think it's finally good that we get a chance to see him, but I don't know if this is his forever call up.
I agree with that. Willie Abreu looks like he has a strained oblique. I believe obliques are not the quickest injury to come back from. So this IL stint, you might need to look that up. This IL stint might take us to the trade deadline. And if Anthony can hold off Willie until then, there has to be a move in that outfield somewhere. I've heard that Christian Campbell might be getting considered to be sent down after his hot start. He's really cooled off. So first of all, just pivoting off of Roman Anthony for a second, do you think a Christian Campbell call down, demotion is maybe in the cards here? What are some other options to get Roman Anthony some playing time?
Yes, good questions. We should have done more preparation here, because we said we're just going to be fast and loose today. I don't know if a call down, a demotion makes a lot of sense for Campbell. I think you kind of just need to let him figure it out. Maybe don't allow him to play every different position and then just expect him to be good at it. Maybe, but who knows? I'm not the Red Sox. So I think the trade, like a Jarren Duran trade, makes a lot of sense. As honestly, that would open up so much, just put him in left field, or because Willie Abreu isn't like one of the best defensive right fielders and playing in a weird right field. So it's just, I think sending Campbell down would be a mistake.
I agree. I think Duran is still the most obvious trade piece because of the package that you could get back for a guy like him. You could get a legitimate starting pitcher back for him. So let's kind of dive deeper into Roman Anthony and what we expect from him this year. So let's assume that he is on the MLB squad the rest of the year. What are your expectations for Roman Anthony? Maybe give me some stats, some home run predictions. Maybe just give me whatever you think.
Okay, we're about just over a third of the way through the season. So I'm not expecting 20 home runs. But maybe if he gets hot, 10, 12 to 15 home runs, good, slightly less walk rate than he showed in the minors, because I do think there's a chance that Roman Anthony is a touch passive, a little bit more swing and miss than I think that people are going to expect. I think he's going to strike out around the 24 to 26% range. But I think he's going to be a perfectly good middle of the order bat for this team that sort of needs it. I wonder if they do start to experiment with him at first base as well, because I don't believe anything that Abraham Toro has ever done in his entire career. I'm sure as hell not falling for it in the year of our Lord 2025. But that's to say that I think that this is a chance for, like I said, a middle of the order bat, 12 to 15 home runs. Maybe if he gets hot, 18 home runs, plays in Yankee Stadium a lot. So I just think that there's a chance that he's perfectly fine, 110 WRC plus, which for a rookie is fantastic. I think people, we're also used to Jacob Wilson did not hit very well last year, and now he's one of the best hitters in all of baseball. I think it does take guys a little bit of acclimation time. I think it's going to take Anthony a little bit more, but I think towards the end we're going to see a really hot last couple of weeks of the season, and then he builds on to that, and then comes out in 2026. That's the next year, and hits the ground running.
Yeah, I think my favorite part, in air quote, part of Roman Anthony is just the blend of floor and ceiling. I mean, we know the EVs are nuts. We know that there's going to be enough home run power in there, but he's going to walk enough. He's not going to strike out at a crazy rate. He'll play a pretty good outfield. There's just like a level of pedigree that he's earned in the last year that just makes me think he's a safe bet even in his rookie year. And yeah, there's really not too much to nitpick with a guy like him, and we are talking about, the number one prospect in baseball. So obviously there isn't a whole lot wrong in his game. As far as ceiling goes for Roman Anthony, do you think the ceiling is all-star? Do you think it's MVP, like somewhere in between those two? Best right fielder in the game? Like, what do you think the ceiling is?
Best right fielder is tough. I don't know if he's ever going to win an MVP, but I think if you bet against every prospect to win an MVP, you're going to come out, like every top prospect, you're going to do pretty well. But that's to say that I think that he's going to be, a middle of the order bat. Maybe he can sneak into 40 home runs. I mean, he has the power. He hit 497 feet. So we're talking about a guy who can take the ball out of any ballpark. Is like, he's probably going to be during his peak years, like the best 3-hole hitter, maybe 2-hole, depending on how team lineup construction is. But we're talking about, like I said, one of the better home run threats. I just don't know if there's MVP ceiling in there, but like all-star for sure.
I can get behind that. Absolutely. Let's move on to our next prospect, unless you have anything else on Anthony.
Yeah, I think just like on a macro sense or micro sense, depending on how you want to look at it, with Anthony and maybe this extended runway with Wilyer Barrett having an oblique issue, and obliques tend to take a little bit longer than people project them to recover. I think that we could be talking about him graduating, and we're going to have an interesting conversation. Who is the number one prospect when we re-rank? I mean, we're going to re-rank soon, but so Anthony's still going to be eligible. But I think when we get to the trade deadline, and I like to do a re-rank right after the trade deadline, show people where the prospects came in and everything like that. I think that we're going to have a new number one prospect, which is going to be exciting. The conversation is going to be interesting. It's going to be what do you value? One of the guys we're going to talk about later, shout out to giving a tease, they call it in the industry. But yeah, I just think that that's an interesting conversation. I wanted to know if you are in agreement with me that he's going to graduate here soon.
Yeah, I was seeing. I didn't necessarily know that Wilyer went down with an oblique at first. Now knowing that it is an oblique, I think that the runway for Anthony is going to be much larger than I expected initially. He is getting platooned right now, so he might not be seeing the field every day, but he'll get enough appearances. I think we'll have a good enough sample size in the next month for him to graduate. By midsummer. I think that we should have the future number one prospect in baseball discussion at the end of this segment, because I do think that's a really intriguing discussion because there's so many options. But we'll kind of talk about some other prospects first. So the first guy I want to talk about is Jacob Misiorowski, who just got the call up to the Brewers. I'm just going to let you take this away. What do you like about Misiorowski? Do you think he's going to stick as a starter, et cetera, et cetera?
I think that the command and the control have taken such a big step up this season that I can't imagine him not being a starter. Now, that being said, if for some reason something doesn't work out, roster construction, although I can't imagine that, the Brewers are going to have such a good rotation in the next 2 to 3 years that it's going to push him to the bullpen. But we're talking about a guy who gets elite swing and miss numbers. The stuff is pretty bonkers. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of too pitchy at certain points, but I think that he will get better. He'll develop that third pitch. At the fastball and slider combination, you can just get through a lineup once or twice, flip it over. And then it's just something that he is so good, and I'm so happy that he's up. I mean, he's so good that he's moved Aaron Savali to the bullpen, apparently, where it's just going to cause some drama because Aaron Savali on his birthday wish this year is to get traded. So, I mean, I don't blame him. I don't think Savali's been that bad, but this is, again, this is an organization that's shown that they're not afraid to do weird stuff. I mean, back in the day, Josh Hader spent his entire minor league career being a starter, went through starters workload and everything like that. And then the moment he got called up, he got put into the bullpen. He's been great. One of the best relievers of our generation. But, I mean, Mizorowski, he kind of has more command than Hader ever had, just to compare the two just really quickly. And I'm just so impressed with the way the command and the control taking a step forward that I think he's going to be a starter for the rest of his career, hopefully.
100%, and you can see it in the stats in a sense. I look at command in a couple different ways. One thing that tells me that Mizorowski has really improved his command is he's getting more weak pop-ups than ever before, which tells me he's just locating his fastball up in the zone, and he's dotting off speed away where guys just have to throw their hands at it. The walks have taken, a noticeable step down, but nothing crazy. It's just the command of all of his pitches to prevent barrels, right? He's barely giving up home runs, which he never really has when you have as good of stuff as he does. But I truly do think that there's a starter in him at this point. Heading into this year, I would have said he was destined for the bullpen. I don't know if you were in that same boat, but that's where I was at heading into this year.
The interesting thing with him is his velocity has taken a step back, just ever so slightly compared to in the past. Everything except the sinker, the slider, sorry. But we're talking about a guy who, with all that with most of his stuff taking a slight step back, I think that's allowed the command to come into play more. And I think with him, I viewed him as a reliever going forward. I decided he was going to be the best reliever in all of baseball. Now I think he's just going to be an absolute nightmare for opposing hitters.
Yeah, it's just a lot of limbs coming at you. How tall is he again? 6'7"?
6'7", and it takes these longer limb guys a little bit longer to figure out their command. And maybe we're just seeing him make that next step forward. A lot of the Rays have done it in the past. Tyler Glasnow, they got to a usable point, and who's some of the other some of the relievers, they went from throwing no strikes to throwing quality strikes. I think that's the big thing with Mizorowski. He's throwing more quality strikes. You mentioned he's getting guys to throw their hands out more at stuff. The misses aren't as bad now. When he misses the zone, it's slightly out of the zone, not completely in the other batter's box, which it has been in the past. And I think another thing with him is just how much that has changed everything for him. And when you go from 12 to 14%, 12 is sort of the cutoff for me for a starter. If you're walking more than 12% of the batters you face, I'm like, oh, that's relievery. But now that he's down from 14 to 12, I think that we're talking about a totally different sort of prospect now.
Absolutely. As I suppose a coach now, I always think that just the longer limbed guy, my key to strike throwing, the only thing I was good at in college baseball was throwing strikes, right? I'd never walked anyone. It was my one good thing about my game back in the day. It was all about replicating a release point with all of my pitches. And I have much shorter limbs than Jacob does. Trying to replicate a release point at 6'7" with the amount of extension and moving parts and whippiness that he does have, he is fluid despite all of his crazy levers moving in different directions. It's so hard to replicate a release point when you have that large of a wingspan, just because you have to account for more space than some of these shorter pitchers do. And I think that he is finally, like you said, coming into a time in his life at 23 years old where he's taken enough reps and ironed things out enough in the minors to the point where he can actually replicate his release point and throw all of his pitches at least around the zone. And I love what you said about the competitive misses too. That's such an underrated part of evaluating pitching prospects for me. It shows me that he is throwing his stuff down the middle and letting it play, kind of like that Rays pitching approach, where until you get to 2 strikes, throw it down the middle and have really good stuff, and you'll have good results, and your misses will be limited. So I love everything that you said there about Jacob Misiorowski.
I'm a big fan of his. I'm so excited to see him. I mean, honestly, I would love to see him and Logan Henderson both just be Brewers for the long term. I just think that's going to be a fun rotation going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on to another flamethrower and fun pitcher, Grant Taylor got the call. He's been in the bullpen for the White Sox for the better part of this year, right? And he's now got called up to the major leagues. Is Grant Taylor destined for life in the bullpen? Could we see him maybe start again in the future? And what's your kind of outlook with him long term?
Nothing surprises me at the White Sox, so I wouldn't be surprised if, this year it's just a bullpen year for him, and then next year they try and make him a starter. There's never been any doubt about the stuff. The stuff is outlier. I mean, he was 101, touching 102, or no, it was 101 with a perceived velocity of 102. Like, we're talking about elite extension on the mound, over 7 feet of extension, plus a high octane fastball, good slider, good cutter, good curveball. I think that if he is a reliever, he's good to be someone that's on your closer hierarchy for the next decade plus. He's one of the better relievers in all of baseball. There's only maybe 1 or 2 relief arms who have as much arm talent as Grant Taylor has. It's just Grant Taylor has not shown an ability to stay healthy, and I think that's same thing with Mason Miller. Mason Miller is a little bit better. He's the best reliever in all of baseball. Just don't look at the home runs he's given up. I promise you, just don't look. Trust me on that one. But yeah, Grant Taylor sort of has that same sort of elite arm strength, really good feel for spin, and I think it's just going to eat out in a bullpen setting.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Taylor hasn't given up a home run all year. He was not on my Dynasty closer hierarchy simply due to the fact that I still had hope that he was going to be a starter. He started at the beginning of 2025 and then transitioned to a bullpen role. And knowing now that he is on the MLB team as a reliever, he will be the number 1 guy on that hierarchy just based on stuff alone and a pretty bad bullpen and pretty bad development system for relief pitchers for the White Sox. So that when I make my next update, that will be changed. I don't typically like to put guys on there if they've started the same year until I'm 100% sure kind of where they're going to land, because I think the outlook is completely different for Taylor as a starter and a reliever. I believe in him more as a reliever, right? Just knowing that he can get it done in one-inning situations with letting the stuff eat and not having to hold anything back. He easily becomes one of the most exciting relief pitching prospects in baseball, similar to that of a Jacob Misiorowski if he ever took that path of becoming a future closer. I would not be surprised if Grant Taylor started getting save opportunities in the next month by the All-Star break.
How many saves is there in Chicago, though? It's the question. That's my only.
About 12 a year. I think he's not a valuable asset right now. In 4 years, he might be, which I suppose is the whole point of the Dynasty Closer hierarchy, is to identify these guys for your competition window. But I think it would be fun nonetheless to have a guy like Grant Taylor pitching in leverage innings, because it does edge the White Sox out maybe a couple more wins this year, having him back there instead of, who do I got here? Brandon Eisert. I don't even know how to say his name. And Steven Wilson is Jordan Leisure has been really bad this year. Cam Boozer's all right. It's just not a whole lot of options in that bullpen. And an exciting bullpen starts with an exciting closer. So, I don't know. I'm trying to give White Sox fans something to look forward to this year. In 2 years, you're really going to appreciate Grant Taylor back there.
You are. I'm very excited for them to have this, averages 105 miles per hour on the fastball, 95 mile per hour cutter, 88 mile per hour slider. Like, we're talking about elite stuff, and there's not a lot of save opportunities in there, so I don't think that the fantasy ceiling for Grant Taylor is that high right now. But that doesn't mean that if the White Sox take a step forward in the next 2 or 3 years, which I don't think is going to happen, but it's going to be a slower burn. But we're still talking about one of the more electric arms in all of minor league baseball or Major League Baseball now.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 years there. The majority of their farm will be up and playing near the MLB or in the MLB, and a couple of them hit. You had a pretty fun young core there, and Grant Taylor's certainly part of that. But there will not be save opportunities because the White Sox won't be winning, but it'll be a little more fun than right now, possibly. Moving on to our next arm who got a promotion up to the upper minors, Trey Yesavage. Rhys, we've been big fans of his all year. We ranked him pretty highly on our initial top 100, higher than almost any other outlet. And we have kind of been proven right in that ranking. What do you like so much about Trey, and what do you think about the aggressive promotions throughout this whole year?
I'm so happy to see him being slingshot through the minors. Like, he's someone that was kind of, I think he was like the safest of the three arms that, people drafted in the first round. Like, I think that, I did not see an avenue for him to not be a 4, right? I think that was the thing with him. I don't think the ceiling's as high as Chase Burns or the perceived ceiling on Hagen Smith. Although I'm like the low man on Hagen Smith. I mentioned in our staff chat that he should get ready to learn reliever because he doesn't throw strikes. But we're here to talk about Trey Savage. His arm slot is funky. It's a weird delivery. The stuff plays well. It's a lot of horizontal break as on the fastball. It's a lot of really good stuff. He fell in the draft because of some back issues. Plus, he had a collapsed lung. I can't imagine coming back and pitching after a collapsed lung. But Savage, fantastic, really ready-made starter. Just a little tidbit. I don't know if people know this. There was talks very heavily that Trey Savage was going to get drafted by the Angels and basically shot right to the majors right after he signed. So, he's in a good spot. He's getting a normal developmental arc, and I think that this has really helped him. The stuff's good, and I think he's one of the safer pitching prospects with a pretty decent ceiling as well.
The Blue Jays really nailed it taking Trey last year. It fell to pick 20. He's such an interesting prospect because of that pitch profile that you talked about. Nothing breaks over the zero line. It's all technically arm side movement on all of his pitches. It's the backwards curveball, the gyro slider, nasty splitter. The true fastball kind of. It's such an interesting profile that I have a question for you. When you see a guy with a unique profile like Trey as far as pitch movement, does that make you like them more, or does that make you cautious for their future because they're doing something different than everyone else?
It goes against the current pitching meta. I have a question for you after this, by the way. But it goes against the current, multiple fastballs, and then one or two good breaking balls. And his stuff just moves in a different way. Rhett Lauder was very much the same way a couple of years ago. Who was it? Nick Lodolo is also very similar. It just moves in a way that's unconventional. And I think it can really help because it provides a different look for a team facing against him. Probably better than I would, but I just think that if you face someone whose stuff doesn't move the way that everyone else's does, I think that just helps you out in general and gives you a leg up, even when the stuff it makes good stuff play up, I think.
I think part of wonky pitching mechanics is what I'll call it, but it's a wonky pitch delivery in a sense. Different. It's not wonky, it's different. I think it makes you more platoon neutral as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Because neither side has seen that kind of movement from that slot. Because essentially he's throwing backwards pitches to the opposite side. I don't know if that's a great analogy, but his pitches are moving almost like a lefty's would in a way. His breaking pitches, even though they technically aren't, but if you look at them on a plot, it's kind of like a lefty slider almost. So it interests me for sure. And I think more often than not, it makes a guy's floor higher because that he is just a tougher at bat at any level, regardless, just because of that different look. And the fact that he's striking out as many guys as he is, I think just proves that he has future SP2, SP3 upside with the Blue Jays. He's just one of my favorite pitchers in the minors right now because he's doing something different than everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. Let's play a game, okay? Let's go through the 2024 draft, okay? I'm going to name you the player, and I'm going to name you the team, and I'm going to name you the player that they drafted. I'm going to ask you, do you think that they would have rather drafted Trey Savage? We'll go all the way down to where Savage was picked at pick 20. It's going to be a little bit, we can do rapid fire if you want to.
No, yeah.
Okay, number 1, Travis Bazzana, Cleveland. Do you think that they would take Savage over Bazzana? I don't think so. I still think Bazzana's very good.
Either. I don't think so either. I would take Chase Burns over Bazzana.
I would take. Yes, me too.
But that's not the game.
That's not the game we're playing. Okay, number 2, Chase Burns. No way.
No.
Number 3, Rockies, Charlie Condon.
Yes.
Yes, with exclamation point.
Funk would play so well in Colorado.
I think it would too. Number 4, this one's an interesting question. Nick Kurtz, Sacramento.
I'm gonna go no.
I'm gonna go no as well. Number 5, Hagen Smith, Arkansas. Yeah. I'm gonna go yes.
Yeah.
And an emphatic yes.
I would agree.
Okay. Number 6. I think we're both going to agree on this. Kansas City Royals, Jack Caglione. No.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. When you have 80 power,
Sorry, Royals fans.
yeah. I would take Jack Hags over Savage. They did a good job on that one. Okay, I agree very much with the next one. I don't know if you will. Number 7, St. Louis Cardinals, JJ Weatherholt.
Yeah, Weatherholt has better more upside than Savage. Yeah, it's not too much of a discussion.
No. Next one, the team that might have drafted him, the Los Angeles Angels. I would take Savage over Christian Moore pretty handily.
So would I. I'm not a Christian Moore guy. I think the ceiling and the floor are higher on Savage.
You and Will may have maybe not be Christian Moore guys. I don't know if I just hang out with Drew too much, but yeah. Okay, number 9, Connor Griffin. Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh would keep Connor Griffin.
Pittsburgh would keep Connor Griffin for sure.
I think if Pittsburgh were 500, which probably will never happen under the Paul Skeens regime, then I think they would have a conversation. It would be a meeting that would last a long time to follow. I don't know if you know, I'm a big Bill Simmons guy. I'm one of his biggest fans, actually.
I'm a huge Ringer guy. Wait, we've never talked about this?
No, I'm a big, I've been listening to Bill Simmons since I was in high school. I listened to him when he was back at ESPN. This is how much I love his book, the book of basketball. I love that he's quote retired from writing. But yeah, they'd have what is his favorite thing? You at least have the meeting. Connor Griffin over Trey Savage.
You take the call.
You take the call. Okay, number 10, we're going to go to our nation's capital. It's the Washington Nationals selected Seaver King. I think that this is a pretty slam dunk. Savage.
It's Savage for sure.
Another one where I think they're going to have the meeting. Detroit Tigers, Bryce Rayner. I think that you have the meeting. I think you go with Rayner because the upside is just 5-6 win shortstop.
You also think about the Tigers. They already have some young pitching. I would go Rayner, but I think it's closer. I think it's very close, honestly.
I think it's very close. Okay, Boston. We're going to change Boston to Chicago White Sox. Would the Chicago White Sox take their second chance at getting Trey Savage? Or technically they would have taken him first if we redid it. But Braden Montgomery.
I really like Braden Montgomery. I think I would take Savage over Braden Montgomery, but that really hurts me to say.
Ooh, I think it's so close. I'm going hitter over pitcher.
Okay, understand.
Okay,
I'm just thinking White Sox pitching prospects in their system haven't been doing great yet. Savage would be a legit guy in that system. That's a really tough one.
Okay, number 13, James Tips. I think this is a pretty handily Savage. Okay. Houston Astros, Cam Smith. This one is interesting. I think that it's Cam Smith, pretty comfortably, but I don't know what you think.
I would be closer than you are, but I would take Cam Smith. And I guess this is maybe stealing your position player over pitcher argument, but I think the upside for Cam Smith is a little higher than Savage as a pitcher.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, interesting one. We're going to go college pitcher versus college pitcher. Durangelo Sinjay or Trey Savage for the Seattle Mariners.
I'm a Mariners fan, and I would take Savage.
They had a chance to. I mean, obviously, we're talking about all these teams had a chance to take him, and they chose Sinjay over him. Okay, this one's pretty easy. Number 16, the Miami Marlins, PJ Morlando. I don't even think we need to talk about it, but I'll give you your chance.
No, it's Savage.
Okay, next one, same thing. Mariners. Could you imagine Trey Savage with the Mariners pitching dev? Brewers. Sorry, I was going to get there at some point. This one's pretty easy.
He feels like a Brewers pitcher.
He does. He
feels like a Brewers pitcher.
Do you know what? He might be like a supercharged version of Aaron Savali. It's something I'm thinking about. That's what I think the upside is. Okay, Tampa Bay Rays. Theo Gillen. I think I like Theo Gillen, but I don't think I'm not taking Theo Gillen over Trey Savage.
In a year, maybe it's different. Savage for now.
Okay, now here's an interesting one. Carson Bench. I like him way more than most. I think I'm one of the higher guys in Carson Bench. I still would take Trey Savage, though.
I would take Trey Savage probably more comfortably than you would.
Okay, so I think that let's go through it. Okay.
Redraft, he's a top 10 guy already, right?
Redraft, he's probably the third or fourth best player in this draft.
Yeah.
Let's see. We said we definitely take Burns, Kurtz, Cags, Weatherholt. So that's 4 for sure. And then we said we'd have to have conversations on Griffin, Rayner, and Montgomery, and Cam Smith. So
Zana probably goes higher than him too. So maybe he's like 8th, 7th.
Yeah, he's like 7th or 8th. It just depends on team context at certain points, maybe. Although you don't draft for an 8, but the Tigers had a chance to draft Trey Savage. Is he pitching for the Tigers right now? Who knows?
He just doesn't have the upside of a guy like Chase Burns, but in a lot of drafts, he's, a number 1 or number 2 pitching prospect.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he was probably, honestly, the more I look back on it, I wish I was more bold. I like Savage more than most. And when I saw him sliding, I was like, some team is going to get a fantastic pitcher. Like some of these guys were already saying, I'm like, yeah, I don't understand how you got drafted where you did. But, that's the beauty of the game, right?
The Blue Jays coming into this year, I thought they had one of the worst farm systems in baseball, and they're quickly rising up my internal farm system rankings just with their pitching depth alone. I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys in that system who are mostly in the lower minors, except for Savage now, who are just really fun pitching prospects.
Yeah, King, Steven, there's so many more. J.H. Standiford, Jurian Watts Brown, who had a breakout last year, then he fell back, and now he's back again. And then Arjun Amala. The question is, I'm actually re-ranking Blue Jays prospects today. Do I go Namala or do I go Savage? Because I think Namala is like showing everything that you want from a shortstop at that level. Savage just tends to be a level higher now, but I think Namala is probably going to be up a double-A here soon as well.
It's the upside play too. Like the upside of Namala is more than Savage. Trey Savage is not an ace. He's not a number 1 starting pitcher on a contending team by any means. He's probably a number 3 pitcher on a contending team, and he's a really good number 3 at that.
But is Namala ever a top 5 shortstop in baseball? I don't think that's within his range of outcomes, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be a top 10 guy, at the shortstop position.
He could sneak into 5th, maybe, on like his best year, which is still, like we talked about, it's one of the most valuable things you could ask for. So that is actually a really tough ranking. But it sounds like Namala over Savage for now.
Yeah, Namala for Savage. But honestly, you ask me in 15 minutes, I might change my mind. So it's really a hitter versus pitcher is sort of really coming in here right now.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see where Savage falls in our top 100 when we do re-rank.
Yep.
That was a great exercise, Rhys. I enjoyed that a lot. Let's move on to Otto Kemp, who got the call. One of our guys over here at Prospects Live. Really breakout year. The story's amazing. Come out of D2 Point Loma. Undrafted. It's just a really, really fun story. He's done nothing but hit. Got a little bit of positional versatility now. He's doing it with the bat. I mean, he's succeeded decently. I know in his first game he went 3 for 5. I don't know what he's done since. What are your thoughts on Otto Kemp moving forward and right now?
Shout out Point Loma. Honestly, if I was Chad to choose between some of these mid majors and Point Loma to go to college to, I'd pick Point Loma pretty comfortably. Could you imagine living in San Diego and playing college baseball? Sounds like the dream, right? The Whale's Vagina.
My dream school coming out of JUCO.
Really?
I emailed them and I had my coach call them. They did not need a crafty righty. I technically have a year left. I technically have another year at a 2.5 ERA. Maybe call me. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's one of the most beautiful campuses on the west. I think it is it's what,
Pepperdine.
The
greatest baseball field ever.
Oh, I don't know. I think Pepperdine's is just as nice. Pepperdine's if you hit a home run, you're hitting it into the Pacific Ocean, so you're technically littering. So that might not be very good. But we're talking about top 5, baseball fields and all on the West Coast. Depending on if you count BYU on the West Coast, they also have a beautiful backdrop. The mountains when it snows in Provo, Utah,
Valley,
beautiful.
Yeah.
But anyways, Otto Kemp, he's been fantastic. We've been calling it for a while. I think that he should have taken Alec Boehm's job quite a bit ago, but Alec Boehm sort of had a little mini bounce back. I think Otto Kemp is just going to be Is he going to be a consistent starter for this team? No, but I think that his ability to play a few different defensive positions and hit will allow him to carve out some playing time for a team that's a little old. Not a little, they're quite old. And they have, they're going to need to get guys days off their feet and everything. So I think Otto Kemp can sort of provide that. Second base, third base. He can really play any of the corner outfield spots. So there's some versatility here.
Yeah, he's like the 11th guy on that team. And he should remain with them as that 11th guy because he's probably not, like this high caliber starter. Alec Boehm can only hit singles. So I think, despite his bounce back, I think getting the lefty bat in there the righty bat in there from time. I don't know why I thought Otto Kemp was a lefty. Getting his bat in there from time to time and providing a little bit more juice, I think is a good idea. Looks like he has struggled since his first game. He's striking out a 30% clip, but only 19 plate appearances, so small sample size. I think he will stick around with the Phillies for at least the year, and I'm really glad he got the call up. Moving on quickly to Kyle Teal, who has got the call with the White Sox and is forming a fun little tandem in the South Side at the catcher position.
Yeah, him and Edgar Guerrero are going to be going to be one of the more fun catching tandems for as long as both of them are still catchers. Kyle Teals also came up and he's been pretty good. Kind of what you expect from Kyle Teal. He makes a bunch of contact. He has a good approach. There's some power here too. Good athlete too. I think that he could steal, if they give him the chance, 20 stolen bases in a full season. Like, we're talking about one of the more athletic catchers. So athletic, so that I think that he could go play corner outfielder and maybe even be like not bad in center. Like, if an extreme emergency happens, I think there's a chance for him to play there. But yeah, I'm all in on Kyle Teal. I'm so excited that the White Sox have some interesting prospects coming up because they kind of need it after having the worst season so far until the Rockies decide to exist this season. But yeah, I'm excited for Kyle Teal.
So, do you prefer his defense or his hitting? So I'm leading this into another question.
I prefer his bat.
Okay. The defense is better than in Caro, right? Like I don't think that's a huge stretch to say that.
I think Teal is a definite yes as a catcher. Caro is like, you can squint and see it, so it's a maybe. But this is a team that is really just there's no reason not to allow Cuero to get as many reps as possible.
So because of Teal's athleticism, is he the guy who's going to start playing more positions despite being the better catcher between the two? And if you were a GM of the White Sox, how do you manage a situation where both of them have great bats? Teal's the better defensive catcher, but he also has the versatility that Caro lacks. How do you kind of manage that?
This is why the GM's paid the big bucks, and I'm not. I think you split the catching responsibilities right down the middle. But on days that Teal isn't catching, you maybe go see if you can go play left field, go play right field. On days that Caro isn't catching, he's the first baseman. So you kind of move them around so that you can keep their bats in the lineup while also keeping them fresh. Maybe you keep a third catcher on the active roster as well, just to alleviate some pressure, because you could even play a third catcher while having Caro at first, Teal in left or right. And I think that's sort of the way that they should be mixing and matching it. But they should also be making sure that they get, their catching reps as well. They work on catching, and then the other positions sort of come as well.
I love that you mentioned actual positions and not DH for both of them, because I think the worst thing you can do for the young guys, clog him up at the DH and not get him those reps to make him a versatile defender. Like, if Kyle Teal can play like a legit left field, he becomes so much more valuable to the White Sox in a couple of years, because he learned that versatility when he was young and they were so bad. So I'm all in on that. I would hire you as the GM of the White Sox in a heartbeat.
Well, I appreciate it.
You answered that question magnificently. Moving on to our next prospect here, or we're going to do a little prospect talk. I think I know where we're both going to land on this. Chase Burns versus Bubba Chandler for the number one pitching prospect in baseball. These are kind of the two that I feel like have established themselves, depending on how you think of Andrew Painter, as the top two pitching prospects in baseball. Where do you stand on that debate?
I think Chase Burns is maybe the best prospect in baseball that hasn't debuted yet. His stuff is it's better than Chandler's. Not that Chandler's stuff is bad by any means, but I think Chase Burns, fastball, slider are just two elite pitches. They might be sevens. And then I think the changeup also gets decent results, despite it, quote, not ever, like when I watch a couple of his starts, the changeup doesn't look like it's going to be one that's effective. But I think because of the other stuff, it allows it to play up more. You can sequence it a little bit more. Could he stand to, utilize it a little bit more? Maybe, but that's ultimately not I'm not going to tell the guy who has two elite pitches to just all of a sudden, hey, throw the third pitch that's average but performs like an above average pitch a little bit more.
Yeah, the 40 change plays like a 50 when you have 270 pitches.
Right?
I think that's a real thing. And I agree with you fully there. I really don't have much to add. I'm Burns over Chandler. Chandler's an interesting one. I'm not sure if he's going to be in my top 10 when we rank or not. I think that's kind of where I have to figure out how highly do I value a guy like Bubba Chandler.
I do think Bubba Chandler also struggles from a little Jackson Jobe-itis. And what I mean is there's not a lot of deception in the delivery. It's kind of just a pick up the ball. I don't know why I'm saying pick up the ball, but you grab the ball and just throw the pitch. There's no pitchability there. It's just stuff, right? And we saw Jackson Jobe, who unfortunately just went down with Tommy John. His stuff played down as a result of the lack of deception.
He's an AWR. I don't know if you know what that stands for.
I don't. Every time sometimes you throw out these like acronyms, and I'm like, what the hell is this dude talking about?
It's an average white righty.
Oh,
And
I like
they're
that.
the easiest to hit because they all throw a fastball, slider, changeup, and it's not a whole lot of extra funk in there.
Yeah.
So I would put Bubba Chandler in AWR category. Moving on to another prospect that we've kind of briefly touched on, Connor Griffin. Promoted to high A, went 2 for 5 with 2 doubles in his first game last night that I covered on our daily sheet. Do you think Griffin's going to struggle at high A? And what are your thoughts on him right now as we stand?
I thought he was going to struggle in single A, so the fact that he's made it to high A has been impressive. I do worry about some of the swings. I think it's a little aggressive, but I am very happy that the Pirates are like, hey, we're going to test this guy. We're going to see what he can do. We're going to put him against better pitching because let's be honest, single A pitching has been booty cheeks, especially in the Florida Complex League. I mean, some of the best pitchers are also on his roster, so it's not like he can face them during the game unless something weird happens. So yeah, I'm excited to see this. I think that it shows some level of faith in him. I really wish that he would stop playing shortstop also.
Yeah, it feels like the move is inevitable, so why not do it now while he's still young and has time to develop? Because he's going to be in the minors for a couple more years. I think the move to high A is absolutely reasonable. Get him against some of those better pitchers. I think he'll be in high A for a little while, though. I think that's going to be one of his longer stops in the minor leagues. I think we could see him, debut there again next year. The contact is good, but there's just a little too much swing and miss and pitch recognition and such. So I think high will be a good seasoning point for Griffin before we really see what he has in the upper minors next year.
I'm with you. I think that with him, I applaud their aggressiveness because you could argue that they could have slow played him, just keep him down there for a while. I want to see how, because at high A, you start to see pitchers who are able to show some semblance of sequencing, right? And I think that that's something that, how is he going to be sequenced is going to be something that I'm very fascinated to watch. I want to see, where do they attack him with their breaking balls? Where do they attack him with the fastballs? Or what is the idea of where they're trying to attack him? Because the command's still not fully there. I think Double A would be the ultimate test. We're going to get a chance to see him. I mean, we're going to talk about some other prospects who have made it to Double A who have kind of struggled a little bit with similar-ish like athletic tools, and that gives me some pause for them. But I think Griffin, he's aced everything they showed. He was terrible to begin the season, and then all of a sudden he just became like the hottest hitter on the face of the planet. It felt like in single A. So like I said, yeah, move him off of shortstop. I think this is the level also where he gets challenged defensively. There's it's just a more advanced. His timing needs to be better at high A than it does at single A, and obviously it goes up the minor league chain. I think single A was no challenge for him as a shortstop defender. I think high A is where we're going to see some timing errors. The internal clock isn't fully dialed in, so I'm very excited to see how that goes, and I just think we should put him in center field and let him eat.
I agree. I think it takes almost some stress off of him. Let's move into our kind of next discussion piece here that we alluded to earlier on the show. Who is the next number one prospect in baseball? And I think that it would be great if you gave me all the guys who you think are in the running for this title.
Okay, I'm gonna name every prospect that's ever existed. No, but okay, we're gonna go with someone we've talked about already. Chase Burns. Connor Griffin has a shout if you're this upside chaser. Let's see, who else have we talked about that could really? That's really about it for the. Oh, Roman Anthony, technically. Well, actually no, because if he graduates, then he's done. Jesus Mate. I'm not a Luis Pena guy. I'm going to come out there and say it. I know that everybody else on the website is a Luis Pena guy. I'm not. Luis Pena is like a top 25 prospect. He's not a top 10 prospect for me. I don't know if you agree or disagree with me on that. I'm trying to think. I think JJ Weatherholt should be in that conversation. Kevin McGonigal, Zaire Hope, Josue DePaula, Bubba Chandler could have a shout too if you were a Chandler over Burns guy. There's quite a few names. I just Leo DeVries, who's not been great in the past 6 weeks or so, but I think he's a 19-year-old in high A. Like I'm not dinging him as much, but it's worth noting.
100%. I think my 5, and I might miss someone here. Sebastian Walcott, DeVries, Mate, Burns, McGonigal. I think those are my 5 right now.
Oh, I forgot Samuel Basayo, but I'm not putting a first base prospect in the top prospect in baseball. I just am not going to do it.
He's comfortably like 5 or 6, right? He's in the
Yeah.
top 6. He's probably ahead of some of those guys that I mentioned, but I don't think he has the upside of what a number 1 prospect in baseball could do, which also brings me to the point of, as much as when I think about re-ranking my top 100, I so badly want to put Kevin McGonigal at 1. But can that kind of profile truly be the number 1 prospect in baseball, Rhys?
I mean, it has a shout because of the way in which the landscape of prospectdom is, right? Like, we're talking about everything on Kevin McGonigal is fantastic. You know, walks more than he strikes out. He hits for more power than he's been given credit for. I think some people are still slowly catching up to the power, honestly. We're talking about a guy who can just single-handedly just choose not to strike out. If you're striking out at about a 10 to sub 10% rate, like, you know, and with the optimized contact that he shows, I think that you have a shout to be it. I just don't know if I want to put, I think he plays shortstop, but there's a high probability he plays second base too. I don't know if I want to put a second base prospect as the number 1 prospect in baseball. And like, I know we might talk about it, but Walcott, I don't know. I don't think he's a shortstop. Like, and then like, do I want to put a third base prospect? But I also wonder if he's going to be a third baseman. And that makes me think, is he a right fielder? So there's a lot of questions with these prospects, which makes me wonder, do I just put Jace Burns and just say I don't remember if we're allowed to cuss on here, so I'm not going to, but just say screw it and go like, man, I'm just putting the high-end guy who has a chance to be a really good pitcher. Like, maybe he never maxes out as an ace, but maybe he's just a really darn good number 2.
It's such a hard discussion. The more we talk about it, the more I go back and forth on really like 5 or 6 guys.
The more I'm putting myself in like this mental pretzel. Like, I feel like, I'm not knowing where to go.
I think it's going to change every day for me. And it's going to, because I'm going to make a different argument for someone else. Because there's that argument for Chase Burns, right? Because there is ace level stuff there. There's the argument for Jesus Mate because you could be the first guy to rank him number 1, and in 4 months from now, he might be the most easily undisputed number 1 prospect out of all of them. So it's hard. I like to shout out Weatherholt too. I think he's been getting underrated at this point, and he has shown absolutely everything that you've wanted him to show, and then more so far in the minor leagues. It's this is the most fun top 10 prospects I think we've had in a little while now. I don't know when your last like time that you had like your top 10 was so interesting and so interchangeable and so many guys with such high upside, but this is it for me right now in my young career.
Yeah, when we get to the point where I'm asking when Roman Anthony does graduate, I think that's when it's going to be really, really fun. I know we ranked Roki Sasaki 1. That was a misplay on our part. We should have done Roman Anthony. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know where to go, and I feel like getting other people's opinions is going to be fascinating because I could see 3 or 4 names coming in. Matt could submit me a different name than you will. Will could submit me a different name than you will. And anybody else who decides to pitch in, it's going to be one of the more fascinating discussions. And honestly, that might have to be something that we jump on a podcast and kind of break down. We could just do a whole podcast on the number 1 prospect in baseball when Roman Anthony graduates.
I think we almost need some guest opinions because I think that this is like almost a workshop event because, like you said, we're very open-minded right now about who it could be in, a month or 2 when Anthony does graduate.
The only prospect I'm just outwardly not doing it is Samuel Basallo. Not that he's not a top 10 prospect. He's a top 10 prospect, and he is technically in the conversation. I'd be happy putting him at 2. I'm just not putting Samuel Basallo, a first base prospect, at the number 1 position. I'm just not doing it.
I think he's the best hitter in the minor leagues now that Anthony's gone. I don't know if that's a stretch. I think he's just the best hitting prospect, but that's only part of the tale. I think on your fantasy lists, I think Basallo makes a bunch of sense at number 1.
He does, because he'll still have catcher eligibility in the moment he debuts. He might catch just enough, but I mean, for a real life perspective, the catching has to come into play. And catching, what would you say? Catching probably takes down your offensive ceiling, just like what? 10, 15, 20%, depending on the catcher. Like, we've seen Adley Rutschman sort of fall off the face of the earth offensively because of some bumps and bruises that he's taken as a catcher. So that makes me worried. I don't know if I want to put a catching prospect as the number 1 prospect in baseball, despite it being the most important defensive position. I don't know, man. And like I said, I'm not putting Sammy Basallo as the number 1 prospect. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, I think Adley Rutschman has been taking down 50% of his offensive output.
Oh, I was about to say he might be 20% of what we think what he thought he was going to be, and that's not his fault because catchers just take so much of a beating back there.
And this makes what Cal Raleigh is doing even more special, which is why he should win the MVP, right?
Yeah, well, that's going to be an argument that's going to be made, right? If he keeps this up and Aaron Judge is going to be like,
It's not a real argument, but
it's not an argument at all. And it sucks that Cal Raleigh is having the season. Plus, he's catching every day. Like they don't ever get him a day off of his feet. It feels like I'm just like, man, that dude's like knees have to be like barking like bad. Like I can't imagine what the pain he's going through at the end of some of these games.
I wish there was like a Dog of the Year award because Cal Raleigh has the dog inside of him, and then maybe another dog.
We're gonna have an award show at the end of the season, and dog of the season. We're gonna have an AL and an NL. And Cal Raleigh, if he keeps doing this, they need to get a better backup catcher. Is it Harry Ford? Probably. Or maybe they can go trade for one. It's not Mitch Garver, man. It hasn't been Mitch Garver for the moment that contract was signed. Which no shouts at Mitch Garver. He's been very good for his career. But yeah, I don't know, man. They need to get that guy off of his, get this guy out of the squat.
I know we're kind of rehashing this now. I think I almost like Ford more as a trade piece at this point because of their inability to move him to other spots and showcase his versatility, and his value's at an all-time high. All-time high. It's nearing his previous high of when he was hitting a bunch of home runs 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like they're going to move off Mitch Garver. And if they do, it seems like they don't want to have a backup catcher who also has defensive versatility like Harry Ford. So I'm of the thought that you trade Harry Ford, DFA Garver, sign/trade a backup catcher that's like a defense first guy. But that's neither here nor there, my Mariners fandom. Let's go quick into 3 last topics for prospect/MLB news. Marcelo Meyer. Maybe the best hitter in baseball so far in June. We're 12 days into June. I saw he was top 5 on almost every hitting statistic so far this month. What's going on with our guy?
15 games, 3 home runs already. Like we're talking about, this is what Marcelo Meyer is. He's a good hitter. Always has been. He rolls out of bed and is on double. It's hit a double basically. It feels like. I'm so excited for this. I think that he's been fantastic. I mean, the Red Sox roster construction makes things like weird for him, but like I think he'll figure it out, and he's going to be a perfectly fine, above average hitter for a long time.
If he keeps hitting like this, like a Trevor Story, DFA is certainly in the cards, right? It's a lot of money, but
I don't know if they're one of these teams that's going to pay the money though. That's the one thing. The Red Sox operate like a small market team, despite being in the 3rd biggest market in the sport. Well, 4th if you count New York. The 2 New York teams, LA, Boston.
I guess I choose to think it's slightly different because of the caliber of prospects that you have right now, where if you have to eat the money for someone, it's Marcelo Meyer, right? Yeah. Just with the pedigree and the upside there, and not even just upside the floor, like he's going to be a consistent producer. I would surely hope that they would eat the money there. But it's an interesting thought, and he has gotten off to a really hot start, which is awesome to see. Jackson Jobe, Tommy John, Rhys. Where are we at with Joe? Where are we at with the state of the Tigers?
I mean, he's out until 2027. Honestly, he hasn't really been helping out the rotation that much, so maybe it's a slight quote blessing. I think the stuff has never been in question. It's just he just doesn't have any deception in the delivery. He doesn't get as much swings and misses as you would think for someone with as good a stuff. Maybe he works on his delivery during his Tommy John rehab. And as far as the state of the Tigers go, they still have one of the better rotations in baseball. I think this ultimately makes the move for a starter, I think, a little bit more appealing because, we're talking about the best pitcher in the sport. Jack Flaherty on his best day is a damn good number 2. Casey Mize has looked good. Rhys Olsen will come back from his ring finger issue. And then they can always just play around with the 5th starter string. Sawyer Gibson Long. I think he's more of a reliever at this point. Like I think having him as a long man sort of helps. But this is a team that needs another playoff starter. Alex Cobb's coming back, but I was watching an Alex Cobb rehab start, and my hips got tight the way that his are. Like the dude can barely walk.
38.
Right? Yeah, he's up there in age. So I just wanted to.
37.
Yeah, he's up there in age. So they need to make a trade. Do I think they're going to be in the market for Dylan Cease, Michael King? I don't know. I would love it if you could get a Terry Skubal, Michael King, Jack Flaherty playoff rotation. Who, baby, we're cooking the gas.
Yeah, that's the team to come out of the AL right there.
If they're not already. Like, I think they're the best team in the AL.
I agree. I think to solidify that, I think it's close. I think to solidify that, get another number 2. And that'll be really interesting to see. Just quickly touching on the Corbin Burns injury, Tommy John as well. What's the state of the Diamondbacks? Are they sellers at this deadline? They seem to be in, for lack of a better word, pitching hell right now. What do we do about the Diamondbacks? They do have Brandon Pfaadt, though.
They have Brandon Pfaadt. Thank God they have Brandon Pfaadt. Oh my God, the first ever. I saw it on Twitter. It's called the Yes Hitter in Major League Baseball, dude. Oh my God, so bad. But Corbin Burns, the Diamondbacks are snake bitten with pitching signings. Like, Jordan Montgomery is so bad that the owner is like, I hate my life. I hate that I signed this guy. Like, he's going out there and just like slamming the dude in every opportunity that he can, which is not a good look for an owner. But I appreciate the honesty sometimes. And Corbin Burns, it wasn't looking great. Then it started to look fine. Dude, sometimes these contracts just end up like this. I mean, Garrett Cole's on the IL with Tommy John. I mean, he's a 30-year-old dude with it. I don't think I think this is his first Tommy John. So like the fact that his UCL's made it this far, I mean, you can say it better than anybody, right? Like the fact that his UCL's held up, and this is a dude who pitches innings. Like, let's just look. Since 2021, 167, 202, 193, 194, and 64 innings this season. So the dude's been durable, and the fact that his UCL's last as long is kind of a miracle.
Yeah, he's an eater. I hate to see it. I really like that Diamondbacks team, but they've just kind of gotten unlucky with their signings. I don't know. You can't.
Except Geraldo Perdomo. That's the only signing that they've nailed.
It's the greatest extension in baseball. So yeah, I'm interested to see what the Diamondbacks do at the deadline, because they have some sellable pieces to really gear up for contention next year again. I think that's going to do it for prospect news from us, though, Rhys. I think we're going to move on to some news at Prospects Live right after this break.
I can't let her go. I can't let her down.
Thank you to the drop teams for whatever clip Nate has decided to put in, because he is the one who edits these, not me. Let's go through what's going on at Prospects Live with the Dynasty Baseball pickup guys. They are highlighting Jackson Wiggins, one of the more breakout prospects. Maybe not breakout, but like he's definitely taken a big step forward. The top series too by Joe Lowry. There's a big long one. He writes a book and then he writes a TLDR. I read a lot of the TLDR. I don't have a lot of attention span to read. But no, whenever Joe Lowry writes, I listen or read, some might say. 3 Up, 3 Down by Tom Gates. You have the DSL weekly rundown, which is something that I do. Very excited about it. The daily sheets, they continue to roll out. I think we're done with the college daily sheet, if I'm going to be honest. I think that it's ran its course. It's that time of the year. People are tuning in. There's only 1 or 2 games going on a day, but we'll figure it out. Maybe there's going to be a random DM that I'm going to get from our bosses here in the next day or so. We have the Diamond Diplomas. Shout out to Lucas, I believe, is the one who writes it. One of the more interesting series that we have going on in the Prospects Live. The Dynasty closer hierarchy recently got updated by some dude. We have the Dynasty lists are coming out. Like I said, you can subscribe to the Prospects Live for $5 a month. You can't even get a Starbucks for that price anymore. But without further ado, time for America's favorite segment. What's on your mind, Nate?
I want to talk about our coworkers, and we need to start getting them on for just what's on your mind segments, because I think that's a really interesting way to get to know someone. Because I haven't met a lot of people at Prospects
We
Live.
have some characters on our staff, so I can't imagine what some of them are going to say.
That's what I'm thinking.
I can't imagine what Adam's going to say at any given point. I feel like he says the same thing about me.
Go watch Amateur Hour, episode number 4. I was on with it was just me and Adam, and I had the best time ever. He's the most fun guy to talk to. So I want to draft the Prospects Live basketball team. That is how we are going to get conversations stirring with our coworkers. I think this is going to be a big hit in the faculty Discord. I don't know why I call this faculty. What are we, employee Discord? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what we are, but we're going to draft a point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, power forward, center, and a 6th man. Rhys, you and me are the coaches of this team. If you want to draft yourself as a player coach in a spot, I will allow it. I tapped out of basketball after middle school. I was a center who never learned how to dribble the basketball, and then I didn't grow past 6 foot tall. So I was like a point guard without any ball skills. So I quit basketball.
I played basketball as a kid. One of my most embarrassing moments is, you remember the tearaway pants?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't play a lot on this travel basketball team that I was on. And was it rec league? It might have been travel, might have been school. I don't remember. Anyways, I go up there, I rip off my pants, and I didn't have any shorts on underneath, so I had to go sit back on the bench.
Are you telling me you took your pants off in front of a gym?
In front of a gym of people, yeah.
You don't come back from that one. Does that still
No,
affect you in your life now?
it's something we talk about in therapy all the time. No, I've kind of moved on from it.
That's funny. Okay, so I will give you the first pick, Rhys. We're
Okay,
on snake draft.
I was
As
gonna ask
always.
Siri to flip a coin, but that's fine. I'll take.
I know the
yeah.
first. I know who you want. I'm gonna allow it. I think I'm fine with that. We'll go snake draft and we'll get right into this thing.
I'm gonna take our boss Ross. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how tall Ross is. I'm going with Will Thompson. Will Thompson is my center. Will is. I'm just going to. I don't know. I've never played basketball with any of these guys. I play basketball once a week. I very much enjoy it. I think it's a great form of cardio. I mean, you could draft me if you want. I'm not going to draft myself. I like to play. I don't like to go inside the 3-point line. I run from 3-point line, I shoot, and I go back there and I defend. You can blow by me all you want. I'm not going to defend you into the paint. I'm not doing it. I don't feel like getting hurt playing basketball anymore. So that's just my game. And I imagine Will is going to be my perfect stretch 5. He's going to be like Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns is good at defense too. So yeah, I'm building my team around a center, going back to the 90s. But I have a modern center.
It's the easiest 1-1 pick out there.
It's the Wemby of picks. He might be the Wemby on staff.
He might be. I think I have a stopper though. And before I get into my analysis, we're going Drew Wheeler with my first round pick. Drew, notably 6'3", could absolutely hold Will down in the paint. Will is not getting past my guy Drew. There's a chance he's getting past my guy Drew, but Drew's my best chance at stopping Will. So Drew is going to play my center position and match up against Will. So now, for you guys to get inside the mind of me, I'm on our website and I'm just looking at the faces of everyone on our team, because that's all I have to go off of. We don't list our heights and weights on our Prospects Live roster, and I don't know anyone else and how tall they are because we talk on video. So for my next pick, I'm taking Mitch. Mitch is a recent college graduate of Michigan State.
Gross.
And I don't know. He looks good in a suit, according to the website. I don't know. Maybe he was like in a frat or something and he played like frat basketball, intramurals maybe. I'm taking youth. I'm going Mitch. We're going to put him at small forward because I don't know how tall he is. He could be 5'6", and this could be ruined. But I'm going to go Mitch at the small forward spot.
Oh, okay. With my first pick, I'm going with Jason Shedlock. I've actually seen him in person. I mean, he hit 400 in his last season of college baseball. So we're talking about a good athlete, right? This was kind of one of my keys to my draft. Now, where do I slot him in? Let me pull up his baseball reference page to see what he lists himself on the D2 website. Because let's be real, you probably know more than anybody. You can lie, especially once you get below D1. You can lie about your height. Pull up Jason Shedlock. Sheddy, as he is called, is 6'1", 175 pounds. He decently built guy. I'm gonna put him at my power forward. I feel like getting 6'6", and 6'1" is just such a good. This was my ace in the hole the entire time.
I'm really banking on Mitch being a big fella.
I'm just gonna text him and see if he gets back to me.
How tall are you? You do have another pick here.
Yes. How tall are you? No particular reason.
That'll make or break my draft. If he's like 6'5", I won, you know?
Yeah, if he's 6'5" and he's swelling out to your small forward, you might win. Although I do have a recent D2 baseball player, so I kind of got that going for me. And Will, who's gigantic. Okay, now I'm going to play. I hope he gets back to me. He might call me too. If he calls me, I'm answering on the podcast.
Yeah.
Take my phone off Do Not Disturb. Okay, my next pick. I don't know how tall he is. So this is kind of the real wild card. Could I be going with like a really small power or small forward? Yeah. I'm gonna go with Kyle from the Dynasty pickup guys. The reason I'm going with it is I know that he is very focused on his physical health. He constantly posts pictures of him lifting. He lifts way more than I could even imagine. Him and I have talked about barefoot shoes. He's talked to me about nutrition in conversations on Twitter. So I'm going with Kyle from the Dynasty Pickups crew as my small forward.
That was like the last guy I had on my board, so now we're just going. Okay, actually, I know that this person's tall. Owen Hurd, power forward.
How tall is he?
Looks like a giant. I don't know, but I've seen some pictures of him before, and I think he is a large human being. We will have to ask for heights in our Discord, but I'm pretty sure Owen's big, and I didn't think about it. So I'm going Owen at the 4.
I've never seen a picture of Owen. Outside of his Twitter profile, so that's like
I think he's big. And then watch this. You should have done this one. Who other than a point guard than Smata? Does he not know how to direct an offense in Prospects Live better than anyone? Does he not manage the game just incredibly? I don't know how old Smata is. I think he probably doesn't play a lot of basketball, but I think he can manage us, and he's my boss. So why would I not take him right here? Sorry, Rhys. I got to do it.
That's a good...
It's a floor general.
He is. I think he's tall. Is my next guy. Brandon Hacker is my next pick. I'm gonna. Oh, Mitch got back to me. He is 6'1", depending on the day.
That'll play.
Okay.
He matches up against Jason.
He does match up against Jason, so you can do a cross-match sort of situation. Yeah. Brandon Hacker is going to be my shooting guard. I just imagine that he's tall. When he's talked to me on the phone, he's tall. I just found a picture of him on Facebook. He looks pretty tall. I'm not gonna share his Facebook, but let's see. Is there other? Yeah, he towers over his wife in this picture, so we're rocking and rolling with that. So I gotta ask Brandon how tall he is. But that's the next thing I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna start interviewing guys.
How tall are you? What position do you play?
Okay,
Basketball.
now I need to do. I don't know how I'm gonna go with my point guard. I really don't. But I know I'm gonna go with my 6th man. I'm gonna go with Tom. Tom Gates is in real. Every time I've seen him, he glue guy. He looks like he's in great physical shape. Very handsome man, by the way. Maybe he can distract the other team. So Tom Gates is sort of what I'm going with as my 6th man.
When I interviewed Tom to do a social media post, it's the first time I'd like seen him face to face. He's wearing like a nice tank top, good biceps on the guy.
Good.
Tan, very tan. He must be like a Florida guy or something.
He's he went to Florida. I don't know if he lives in Florida now.
Okay, well, he looked good in a tank top is what I'm getting at here. That was a good pick. He was definitely in contention for me.
Okay, so
my draft right here.
You need a shooting guard and a 6th man.
I do. So I got to think about team vibes too, right? I got to think about vibes. First of all, Alex Kempton is going to be my shooting guard. I don't know how tall he is. He's a young guy following my trend. Alex and Mitch and Owen, all college or recent college graduates. Smata will lead us, and we will be perfect. And don't forget about Drew. For my 6th man, I'm in a real pickle here, man. I got 2 guys I really want to go with.
I had 2 names. If you want me to help you,
I'll tell you my 2 names because it doesn't matter. I'm between Greg and Adam here.
Ooh, I was between Adam and Greg too, but I think I'm going to go with my point guard. I think. Unfortunately, Greg does a really good job of keeping everybody organized. Can that come? He could play point guard. He could play. Honestly, I think Greg could come in this situation, in this hypothetical universe, and play any of the positions you need and keep it moving along. Now, Adam's your heat check guy. If you need someone to come in and score 30 points, Adam could go do that with his personality. He could also go 0 for 5 and like just be pulled from the game. So it's kind of, how do you want to go?
So here's my thing. I'm doing this young guy thing. I don't know the ages of Adam and Greg. I have Smata lead. If I want a 6th man, I want a heat check guy. I want Adam. I want the guy who Jordan Clarkson can come out the bench and shoot 10 threes and he'll make 10 or 0. And also, our team's going to be funny as heck because Adam is going to keep us nice and loose. Maybe he'll get some water for our starters, you know? Water boy / hype man / heat check guy. Adam Keel.
Okay. Now, with my team, I've got quite a bit of size and I've got everything going for me. Kyle's in fantastic shape, so we can be running up and down. Shedlock's also in good shape. He can kind of be my stretch power forward. Will obviously is playing, we're playing a 5-out offense. So I need a point guard who is able to keep the ball moving, keep everybody in line. I want to go Ross, but I think I have to go Greg. Greg's ability to keep everybody organized and everything. Not that Ross can't do that by any means. Ross, I still want to have a job. But I think Greg's just organization, attention to details, keeping everybody in line, being firm when he needs to be. He can be like my Chris Paul.
It was Greg or Smata for my point guard spot. So I think that's a good pick. I think that this is the best exercise we've ever done.
Mitch just asked me, are we building the Prospects Live basketball team?
Are we? I can't wait to hear the reaction.
I'm just gonna say no.
I'll send this clip just to the group chat so everyone can watch. Who's the most butthurt that they didn't get drafted?
Me? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if anybody's upset. What I need, if you are upset, is you need to post yourself dribbling and playing basketball. If you didn't get selected.
Yeah, we'll try you out. We'll
try you out.
I'll think about it.
We only have 12 people. We can only pick 12 guys.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was what was on my mind.
That went way longer than I was expecting. I'm going to go quickly. I'm going to keep it in sports. This whole Shamar Stewart thing. So I don't know for those that aren't aware, I know this is a baseball podcast, but Shamar Stewart was drafted by the Bengals in the first round of the NFL draft. He is refusing to sign because they have tried to insert a clause that they couldn't get put into the Higgins or Jamar Chase, where it was guarantees sort of fall off the contract, and he's like, I'm not going to be the guinea pig for this. Now we're going to have an interesting discussion with him. Is he in the wrong? I don't think he's in the wrong at all. I'm interested to see your thoughts on this here, but I think one of the big things with it is that he could also possibly re-enter the 2026 draft class. So I'm wondering, what do you think on that? It's kind of like in baseball when Kumar Rocker didn't sign, then he can go be in the next draft class. Or does a team trade for Shamar Stewart? What's the value of Shamar Stewart? There's a lot of ways this conversation can go, and I'm just fascinated by it. It's something that I've been paying attention to a lot. I would like to read the NFL CBA, but I don't even have time to read the baseball CBA. You think I'm going to read the NFL CBA?
Shamar Stewart says, and I quote, "In my case, I'm 100% right. I'm not asking for nothing that's never been done before, but in the team's case, y'all just want to win an argument instead of winning more games, in my opinion." That's a baller quote right there.
That's bar.
That's awesome. It really is. Yeah, I'm all for player empowerment across all sports. Guaranteed contracts are something that I believe in, especially with clauses regarding injury and stuff like that. So I think it's sad that we're still doing this in the NFL's case with how dangerous the sport is or whatnot. I don't think that we should be worrying about guaranteed money. I understand it's a business, but I think something needs to change within the actual CBA to guarantee rookie contracts. I thought were guaranteed. I know you can negotiate them, but I thought that they were mostly guaranteed. It sounds like the Bengals are trying to not make a whole lot of this money guaranteed, which is sad.
Which is an interesting move for a sport where it's not like you're negotiating your slot like you are in baseball, right? For those that don't know, when you get drafted, you're normally called an hour ahead of time. Let's say we're talking about first round prospects by chance, or what do you call it? Anybody drafted in the first 5 rounds, you normally get a call hey, what are you going to sign for? As long as you're not a college senior who's going to sign for $10,000, $20,000. Although you should really if I ran an organization, I would give everybody $150,000 because it doesn't actually change anything in your slot at all. And that's the most you can pay in the 10th, 11th through 12th round or 20th round. Sorry. But it's one of those weird things it seems like the Bengals are trying to like you said, win an argument as opposed to just signing the player they drafted. Their first round pick in the draft. For a defense that needs help, it just makes no sense for them to pick this fight. I know a couple years ago, the Bears drafted Roquan Smith, and it took a while because they were worried about him, tackling and hurting too many players and then getting suspended because he was, middle linebacker who tackles pretty hard. It doesn't seem like it's affected Roquan Smith at all. Like, he's one of the highest paid linebackers in all of football and one of the best players at his position. So I just don't understand why the Bengals are doing this unless there's some sort of regret on drafting him because he was a divisive draft prospect. For those who don't know, I don't think he had a single sack in his final season in college, but he's a super athlete. So you're hoping it's a traits-based pick.
It's absolutely ridiculous that you would draft a guy and then put clauses into their contract because you could have picked someone else. You could have traded out on the spot. If you're unsure about him and you knew that you were going to need to add clauses to his contract because you're worried about how he plays, you're worried about injuries, stuff like that, you shouldn't have drafted him.
Yeah.
You should have done a better job in your preparation. You got me fired up. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this is happening.
I think it's one of the more embarrassing things happening in sports that no one's really talking about. We talk about how the Rockies are an embarrassment, and they're just bad. They're just historically bad. They're not embarrassing to the sport. They're just not a good team, right? This is embarrassing for an ownership to step in and or it might not even be an ownership thing. It could just be a general manager thing. But adding these weird clauses into this contract that could make it void and the guarantees don't hit for a top 20 pick is just bizarre and it makes no sense for me.
Yeah, I don't get it. That's a good topic of interest, and all these sports drafts operate so much differently. They're all so different. You don't really have the option not to sign in the NFL until something like this happens, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Everybody signs because it's basically the way the CBA has been written, but they're trying to circumvent the CBA and circumvent just standard operating procedure. And do you think that this hurts negotiation with other agents? If I was his agent, then obviously you're not just representing Shamar Stewart, you're representing a whole roster of guys. Does this make the Bengals seem less appealing? The Bengals are also a team that they handle negotiations in a weird way. They let Jamar Chase get more expensive. They could have extended him and probably saved a couple $1 million in the cap. It seemed like they weren't going to extend Higgins and keep this fantastic offense going. It's just a poorly ran organization from a money standpoint. They just so happen to get
well though.
They draft so well. That's one thing they do. They don't invest in free agency. They can't really invest in free agency. They have Joe Burrow, top 5 quarterback, Jamar Chase, top 2, 3 receiver. If you're being conservative, he's the 3rd best receiver. I think he's the 2nd best. I'm a Justin Jefferson guy. Justin Jefferson can do everything but ultimately you're playing in same end of the pool. And then T Higgins, the best number 2 receiver in all football. It's such a weird thing for an organization to pick a fight over.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And I wonder if anyone else has any thoughts on this. Maybe this is the comment opportunity for you guys.
Right? The comment on the basketball team, comment on, this. It's just a weird, I can understand it if you're drafting a guy in the 7th round, but a first round pick, you're this kind of makes or breaks if my draft is good or not.
Yeah. That is the only guaranteed starter that you get in the draft basically nowadays.
You'd hope so.
Your first round pick. Man. Well, Rhys, why don't you let the people know where to find you and kind of wrap us up?
Yeah, and then we can do my favorite bit, where they can find you. You can find me over on Twitter at rhysbwhite. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Bluesky. You can find me over Prospects Live, putting up a crazy amount of posts. Where can the people find you, Nate?
Yeah, the Sonos app. Nate Rasmussen is the profile. Just Nate Rasmussen, no spaces. I have a Sonos or two. My mom has a Sonos, so sometimes I'll play music on there. So if you ever wanted to, hop on a jam session or whatnot, Sonos me, hit me up, So yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today. Rhys, this was an awesome episode. Just talking ball. So we'll be back with you guys on Tuesday morning or the late hours of Monday night, whichever you prefer. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we will see you soon.
Goddamn big brother, tell me where have you been? I can see the regret sweating off